Hey y'all, my name is Annie. Welcome to my channel, Eat, Drink, and Be Reading. And today we're celebrating my birthday. That's right. We are gonna talk about 31 books that I have loved in my 31 years of life, and I promise to do it quickly. Okay guys, so it's official, it's my birthday. Technically, when this goes live, yesterday will have been my birthday, but it works. And to celebrate with you, I want to talk about 31 books that I have loved in these 31 years that I have lived. They are not necessarily my 31 favorite books. Some of them were just the right book for the right time, even if it's not this amazing work of literature. But yeah, I want to talk about them, and I have them split up into 3 sections. Books I loved as a kid. This is both Little Wee Annie up through High School Annie. Books I loved as an adult that were nonfiction, and then adult books I've loved as an adult that are fiction. And I have them, if you notice me looking, I have them written down because there's 31 of them, and I do not own physical copies of all of them, and that's just a lot of books to remember. So, without further ado, let's get to the books. Number 1, Uncle Lester's Hat by Howie Schneider. This is a picture book, kid's picture book. I don't even think you can buy it anymore. But this man's hat flies around the world, and he travels around the world trying to catch his hat. And this one makes me laugh because you can tell it was written in like the late 80s, because when he gets to Russia, it's just a bunch of soldiers. So thank you, Cold War. Then we have The Jester Has Lost His Jingle by David Saltzman. This is kind of long for a kid's picture book, but it is colorful and full of whimsy and joy. You can also tell it's a little dated because a lot of people in the pictures are smoking cigarettes. Number 3, The Boxcar Children by Gertrude Chandler Warner. I loved these books as a kid. I can still picture where they were on the shelves of my elementary school library because I just went there so often. Number 4, The Borrowers by Mary Norton. This cover is just so pretty. I like it so much, and I loved this book, and I love the movie, and I still have vivid pictures in my mind, and I don't know, I can't remember if they are scenes from the movie or scenes I played in my head as I was reading the book, but I still remember it because I read this book and watched the movie so many times. Number 5 is Nancy Drew. I adored the Nancy Drew books. This is by Carolyn Keene, and just like the Boxcar Children, I can picture where the Nancy Drew books were, or that section of my elementary school library was, because I read them all. Number 6, Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Patterson. This is a treasury of Catherine Patterson's. This was my favorite book in 5th grade. I distinctly remember reading it in 5th grade and talking to my 5th grade teacher about it and reading it 2 or 3 times that year because I loved it so much, and I never saw the movie because I was so afraid that it wouldn't be good. Number 7 is Gilbert Morris. Gilbert Morris is a Christian fiction author. He was very prolific. I looked it up. I think he's written like 240 some books. I am confident they are not all that great because there's so many of them. But my middle school self loved him, and I don't think I've read Christian fiction since, but I read at least 50 of his books when I was in middle school. All right, number 8, And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This was my favorite book in middle school. Loved it. I loved Agatha Christie, and this was my favorite one. I read it several times, and I will always, what a weird book I feel like for a middle schooler to love, but I did. It was my favorite. Number 9, moving on into high school, Sweet Valley High. I was obsessed. I remember buying a box of 100 of these off of eBay for like 20 bucks. So I read at least 100 of these, more probably because I'm pretty sure I owned more before I bought these 100. I read them all the time, like the junior high, the university. Let me tell you, the university gets a little bit graphic, and my little 14-year-old mind was not quite ready for that. Number 10, this is a perfect number 10. It's Harry Potter. It's Harry Potter. I have loved Harry Potter forever. I have read them all multiple times. I've listened to them all with my mom on tape and then CD. Jim Dale's voice will forever stick with me. Anytime I hear it, I will immediately know it's Jim Dale. This is the European version. All of our other ones are American, but we were actually on a family trip in Rome. I say that like it was a normal thing. It wasn't. But the one time we were in Europe was the day this book came out, the 7th one, The Deathly Hallows, and we now have this beautiful European version. Number 11 for my favorite book in high school was The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. I was shocked by how much I loved this book. I did not want to put it down. I kept flipping the pages. It was just wonderful, and I feel like I don't remember much about it. I haven't reread it. I'm kind of afraid to reread it, but I loved it. And I think up through college, I would have said that was my favorite book. And number 12, The Pursuit of God by A.W. Tozer. This is Christian nonfiction. I read this in high school. I had to read it for a group I was leading with. And I reread it in college, and I read it again after college. It is probably still to this day my most significant Christian nonfiction work that I have read. Okay, moving on to nonfiction books that I loved as an adult. Number 13, Garlic and Sapphires by Ruth Reichel. This is a food memoir about her time as the food editor. No, she was writing for the food column for the New York Times, and it is snarky and funny, and I loved it, and it made me realize that I love food memoirs. Love them. Thank you, Ruth Reichel. Number 14 is Cork, Dork by Bianca Boxcar. This is a wine memoir, and it is a book that was not only enjoyable, it made me want to know more about wine. When I read it, I knew I enjoyed drinking wine. After I read it, I wanted to read more about wine and learn about the whole process. Number 15 is At Home in the World by Tish Oxenrider. This is another memoir. It's a family travel memoir, and it is the book that opened my eyes to memoirs, which is now one of my favorite genres. Number 16 is Just Mercy by Bryan Stevenson. This is the book I would put in every American's hands if I could, and if I can convince them to read it, I would. I think it is fantastic and necessary. I will always remember reading it. I don't think you can read it and leave the same, and it is just phenomenal. Number 17 is Walkable City, How Downtown Can Save America One Step at a Time by Jeff Speck. This is a book about urban planning, and guys, it is fascinating. I read this book and I was talking about it to everyone for months. And for those first couple weeks, my husband was like, I do not want to hear another word about sidewalks or stoplights or bicycles. Stop it. But it's so fascinating and so good, y'all. Number 18 is Liturgy of the Ordinary by Tish Harrison Warren. This is a Christian nonfiction, and it is maybe one of the most practical Christian nonfictions, practical books for walking with the Lord, for the living out the Christian faith that I've ever read. Number 19 is None Like Him by Jen Wilkin. It is another Christian nonfiction. This book gave me language and verbiage, specific language and verbiage that I now use daily when I read my Bible. And number 20, the last nonfiction on here, is Arc of Justice by Kevin Boyle. It is a saga of race, civil rights, and murder in the Jazz Age, a National Book Award winner. I had to read this for a class in college, and it was easily my favorite book I read for class in college, and I read a ton in college, and I liked a lot of my reading, and this one was my favorite. All right, guys, last section. Here we go. Fiction I have loved as an adult. Number 21 is Echo by Pam Muniz Ryan. This is a middle grade. It is maybe my favorite middle grade I've ever read. I listened to it on audio. The audio is fantastic. It's historical fiction. I love it so much. It both, I think, opened my eyes again to middle grade, because I hadn't read a lot of middle grade up to this point, and it's one of the first fiction books I listened to on audio that I really enjoyed, and now I love fiction on audio as well. Number 22 is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill, another middle grade fiction, another one I listened to on audio, and there is just something about this book that is so heartwarming and fascinating, and I actually want to own a physical copy because I cannot wait to read it to my kids someday. They're just not quite old enough. Number 23 is the Percy Jackson series by Riordan. Guys, my husband and I both read this early on in our marriage, and it was such a blast. I enjoyed it so much, but I think it's special to me because my nephew was reading it, and I don't know, 8 to 12-year-old boys just don't care that much about their aunts, I don't think, and it was something that we could connect on. I also listened to the series on audio after I read it because I was just figuring out how to use audiobooks from the library, and I was able to get these just very easily without waiting, and I was driving 40 minutes to grad school every day, and so I listened to these books more than once. Number 24 is the Selection series by Kiera Cass. Guys, I cannot talk about how actually well this book is written. I'm not sure. I've read the series probably 3 times, maybe more, but all at midnight and 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. This series got me through nursing my second child in the middle of the night. It was just what I needed for to keep me interested and keep me awake and not miserable. All right, what number are we on? 25. What to Say Next by Julie Buxbaum. This is a young adult contemporary. Honestly, it is my favorite Julie Buxbaum. Julie Buxbaum is my favorite young adult author right now, and this one is my favorite book by her, and I give it to friends all the time, especially friends that are about to have a baby, because I'm you could read this while nursing and feel like you're reading something of substance and it not be too hard to follow. Number 26. Yes, 26. The Sea of Tranquility by Katja Millay. This is a young adult. Again, it is maybe my favorite young adult I've read in the last 5 years, and I almost can't remember everything about it because it's been a while now, and I really want to reread it. Guys, I feel like I'm off. 27. Beartown by Frederick Bachmann. This is maybe one of the more significant books I've read in the past handful of years. I loved it. It introduced me to Frederick Bachmann, who is now my favorite contemporary author. And I love all of his work so much, and it's because I started with Beartown, and so it will always be special to me. And I think that there was a period of my life where I had gotten into reading again, really into reading again the year before, and I felt like that year I could have kept going or slowed down, and I started with this book, and I have been the avid reader that I was for years before taking a break again. Number 28, The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Marianne Schaefer. This was my favorite book last year. I handed it to so many people and forced them to read it. It makes me so happy, and it's a book I could see myself rereading every year because it brings me so much joy. Number 29 is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. This is a Western. It's the only Western I've ever read, and it is 37 hours on audio. And let me tell you, there was not a minute of those 37 hours that I was bored. It kept me hooked, and I was amazed by what McMurtry could do with a Western. That was, I don't know that I want to read more Westerns, but I do know that I want to talk about Lonesome Dove for the rest of my life. All right, number 30 is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This is a World War II historical fiction. In this, there are two main characters that are sisters. One that is single, and she really feels like the hero of the story, except Kristen Hanna doesn't let her be the only hero. The other sister, who is a mom, gets to be a hero in her own way, and I read this a few months after becoming a mom for the first time, and I cannot tell you how significant it was for me to read a story where one of the main characters and really one of the heroes of the story was a mom. And last but not least, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I read that this year, and it blew my mind how much I loved it. It was so much fun.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Siri, what? Stop. My husband's iPad.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
No.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes, it just, even though there's maybe some things I would want different, I loved and adored Little Women so much, and it made me realize how much I really want to read more classics. Guys, that's it. That's 31 books that I have loved throughout my 31 years of life. What are some of your favorite books you've read in your life? Let me know down below in the comments. Let's talk. Let's build community. Like and subscribe for more bookish content. Yeah, thanks for celebrating my birthday with me. Bye, y'all.